right, well, thank you guys for coming.
Yeah.
This is our second event, first one with a guest speaker. And I think just the fact that you came today is a sign you're kind of going on the right direction. And we want to create a community for everyone that's under 30 and taking the first steps. So,
yeah, and yeah, like you said, just we appreciate you guys coming out and supporting us. After our first event with only one person, we didn't know. Yeah, Manuel was the only guy.
All right.
How the second one was going to go, but it's good to even see 5 people here. 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah.
Let's go.
So yeah,
thank you. Yeah. So Tim, our guest speaker, we'll have him introduce himself, and then it's a small group, so we can keep it interactive. Ask questions. We have some prepared, and then we'll go from there. So Tim.
Yeah, right on. Well, like they said, I'm glad you guys are all here. And so real quick, my story, just so you sort of know who in the world is this guy talking. I'm just a lifelong entrepreneur. I was one of those little kids who was, trying to sell tape to my friends and my family and making chocolate bars when I was like, when the Willy Wonka movie came out, we were making chocolate bars and selling them to people in the neighborhood. So I don't know why, but I just always wanted to have a business. And my mom was running her own businesses and stuff. And I was like, this is kind of cool. And so anyway, the net is I entrepreneured for 25 years, and sooner or later I had a really good business, which was Big Stock Photo, which is still out there. And Shutterstock acquired us like 15 years ago-ish. Yeah, about 15 years ago. So I've been retired for a long time. But like I tell people, it took me about 10 different tries to do something that was really worth it. And I didn't have mentors. I didn't have anybody telling me, Tim, what about this? What about that? Like maybe you should go in a different direction, or how are you going to scale? I would have been like, what does even scaling mean? I had no idea what I was doing. So my goal for you guys is I love to help young people understand the landscape, ahead of them, so that as you go forward, you'll be 10 times smarter than I was when I was your age. Anyway, so I do a lot of mentoring with this volunteer group called SCORE. That's how I met Zach, and that's been really good. So I deal with people starting businesses, like multiple new people every single week, and I've been doing this for like 8 years, I think, with SCORE. And I'm just happy to be here, and I'm happy to try to get you guys a little energized and hopefully make you feel like being an entrepreneur would maybe be something good for you. I mean, if it's a good choice for you, I mean, we never know, but yeah. That's what we're here for.
So to start it off, I think you started at, was it 13 years old as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's about right.
13 years
yes.
old. So would you say that, I know you talked about you became an entrepreneur because you were selling candy bars, doing all these things, but did you have other aspirations, or did you know that entrepreneurship was the path all the way?
I didn't know that as a child. It just somehow seemed interesting to me to do my own thing, but something that occurred to me when I was younger than you guys was I was watching my father, who was an insurance guy. He worked for an insurance company. And I used to think, putting on that suit every day and all that, man, that is not for me. Like, I'm a creative. And I thought, that looks awful. And then, so I started thinking, maybe I should do my own thing. Maybe I should be creative. Maybe I should be an entrepreneur. And then my first job, my first like regular job that wasn't like being a waiter, was at Lockheed, and a very big company, if you know it. And I was watching as sometimes whole divisions would just get shut down and laid off and shut down. And a lot of the people working in these divisions were in their late 40s, late 50s, or early 60s. And I thought, how is this 58-year-old guy, what's he gonna do now? He needs a job, and he's been coasting here at Lockheed. And I just thought, I don't wanna have somebody give me the hatchet when I'm in my 50s and I don't have all the energy that I used to have. And so I thought, I don't ever want somebody else to be in charge of my destiny. I want to be the one. And when I met my wife Dawn there, I said, honey, I'm an entrepreneur, so we're either going to sink or we're going to swim, but it's going to be us. We're going to do it. And so that's sort of how I was just like, I just knew I wanted to be in charge of doing well or not doing well. I wanted it to be me.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And for your companies that you I think 12-time founder, right?
But yeah, that's about right.
Okay, so were those companies, did you know you wanted to get into those, like Big Stock Photo, or was it kind of, you just jumped in and then things happened and
Yeah,
it was like almost circumstantial.
It was circumstantial. There was no master plan. I didn't know what I was doing. And as I was telling some of these guys, I was, and I still am actually doing it right this minute, I'm always building what I need. I'm building what I want that doesn't exist for me, because I know there's other people like me. And so that's how it worked, is I was building things that I knew I needed, that where there was a void in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And then how did you approach identifying the need and then going from, okay, now I have this product, what's next? I mean, we've heard product market fit, testing for validation, looking for things like that. Can you explain kind of your process and what you did for your business?
Absolutely. So validation is my favorite thing to talk about with young people. And for those of you who aren't too keen on it, validation is the idea of taking your business idea and floating it out in front of the world and showing it to people and finding out if you can get any traction, finding out if people care. Because what happened to me a bunch of times, and which happens to entrepreneurs all day long, is they spend a year or two building something that they think is going to be their business, and they go, okay, we're launching, and then it turns out the world didn't care. And if they would have validated the idea first, then they would have found out. And Big Stock was something that I did validate. I was able to float the idea on this other big website that I had. And I was like, hey, who wants to do stock photography? Does anybody want to buy or sell stock photography? Blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people were like, yes, I want in. Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. So I was like, okay, good. We should move forward. But I didn't know about validation. And what I always tell people is if you don't spend a few months validating your idea, you're probably going to spend 2 or 3 years working on it, devoting your lifeblood to it, and probably most of your savings, and you might just find out that the world doesn't care. So why do that when you can spend a few months floating it in front of people, maybe setting up landing pages, running some Facebook ads, going on Quora, Substack, Medium, whatever. Talk to people, float your idea, show people on Reddit, show them screenshots of what you're building and see if they're like, oh, what? And they're asking you, see if you can get any heat, build any traction. So yeah, validation is the thing I did not know about.
Yeah.
But I really try to help people understand how important it is. Yeah. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah, good.
So would you say validate first and then learn to try and grow and build?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. See if you can build an MVP, see if you can get a minimum viable product, see if you can get something out there that people can see, feel, touch, whatever. Yeah. And see if they react to it, and that's your validate. That's part of the validation. If you can start a little teeny tiny, try to make your first $1. You guys would be blown away if you knew how many entrepreneurs that I talk to who work for maybe a year or more, or 2 or 3 years. Have you made $1 yet? No, I haven't made $1, but I'm so close. I'm going to be launching soon. The sales are right around the corner. But after years, they don't make $1. So he's smiling. Make $1 first. Do something. You know what I mean? And I tell him, if you can make 1, you could probably make 10. You could probably make 100. So yeah. So I think that's what I like to see people do, is create a flywheel of a little profit every month. If you can make a business that generates $200 profit every month, or even whatever, 100,000, whatever your number is, and then try to grow it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Try to scale it. You got to first. We were talking about scaling, and some businesses are very difficult to scale and aren't built to scale. So you should know, where are you going to go? If you have a business idea, you want to ask yourself, does this need to make me millions, or does it only need to make me enough for me to live off of, whatever that number is? And you should do a little spreadsheet, do a little financial projection, figure that stuff out, because often people that I work with, they've got an idea, and when we spreadsheet it and we look at it, they're never going to make the money that they need to make to run their lives. And they haven't figured that out yet, but they're busy building the business. So that's part of validation, right? Is run some numbers and do some stuff, talk to some people. Yeah, there's a lot to say about that.
Yeah.
But
so I think these guys can relate to it. A lot of early entrepreneurs get caught up in designing logos, creating the titles of things,
100%.
and never really getting what they need
Yes.
to grow a business or to check validation.
Yeah.
So how does someone move past analysis paralysis and just just hammer it right away?
Well, Zach and I were just talking. I know this guy, Jack Atlasov, and he's a guy who just blew my mind. He would get an idea and he'd call me up and he'd go, Tim, I just had this idea a couple of days ago. And I go, oh yeah, that sounds pretty good. He goes, well, I already tried it. I go, what do you mean? That was like, you just had the idea Monday. He goes, yeah, I did. I set up a pop-up shop. I bought some bags. I got a printer. I did some things. I made some logos and stuff. I put it all, I already sold like freaking 25 products, and I'm going to go back next week and I'm going to start going to I'm going to do more pop-ups and stuff. I'm like, you did all this in like 48 hours? He goes, yeah. So the answer to analysis paralysis is, I think you should do the validation that's cheap and free. Do the stuff that you can do. Talk to people, talk to friends. I mean, remember, your friends will always tell you you have a great idea, so you can't rely on your friends and family. That's the one thing you can't rely on them for, because they will blow smoke. But go out there and you just got to jump in the water. And a lot of the people I talk to with my SCORE mentoring, I say there are water jumpers and there are people that sit on the side and stick their toes in and they never jump in. And there's a lot to be said for jumping into the middle and figuring out how to swim. You will learn more doing that than any other thing that you can do in your life. It's when you're out of your comfort zone. And if you find yourself in your comfort zone, there's a problem. You gotta be out of your comfort zone. You gotta be pushing the envelope and testing yourself to do something like make a sales call, find a mentor, get that MVP out there and take it onto Reddit or someplace and share it with people.
Yeah, well, that's a good answer. That's a good answer.
And you briefly touched on mentorship and, score.org, if you haven't heard about it. I reached out to Tim when I was like 15, and he was completely open to going and just giving me the little things, like what's a business plan, what's how do you actually get started. And mentorship, I think, is really important. I found a lot of value in it. So for you as a mentor, what is something you look for in identifying for a good mentee, and what are some things that a person can do to really take what you say and then apply it for themselves in the best way possible?
Okay, great question.
Yeah.
First, a good mentee. So over the course of my career, I've been hit up lots of times with people, hey Tim, I have some questions, how can I do this, could you help me, whatever. And my feeling is, I'm open and I'm ready to help. That's why I'm here, right? But what I'm looking for in a mentee is I wanna hopefully not be wasting my own time. So I want a mentee to do the follow-up. I want them to be motivated enough to be proactive. And like, if we talk about some things, I'm not gonna hit you up and say, hey, what's going on with that stuff? I'm not gonna do that because I'm busy, I'm running my life. I want you to get back to me a week or 10 days later and say, hey Tim, I followed up on all the stuff we talked about. Here's a rundown of what I did. Here's the 3 things. This is what I'm doing. Do you think we could talk again? And I would be like, hell yeah, we can talk again. Like, you're moving forward. So yeah, so I look for somebody to be responsible and proactive and show me that we're not wasting time and that like we can do something, together.
How do you get a sense of that if an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur comes in and they don't have any experience in that? How do you gauge that, that they might be a good mentee?
Yeah, good question. I'll tell you, the very first thing that happens normally is that there will be an email usually. That's usually how I'll first get something from somebody. And not trying to slam young people, but I have noticed that some young people are very, very loose in their email composition. I don't need it to be super duper formal. You don't need to call me Mr. Donahue. It doesn't need to be like that. But at least like say, hey Tim, comma, and then tell me what you're thinking. Don't just launch right in and go, I need some help doing some stuff. I'm like, I don't even know who you are until I get to the bottom. And maybe they don't even go, so thanks a lot, Brian or whatever. Like maybe they don't even do that. Learn how to at least compose a halfway reasonable and respectful email, because some people don't know how to do that. And so that's the first thing about what I'm looking for. And sorry, now I've spaced on the question. It was a 2-parter. What do I look for? But you asked me, the second part of the question was, it's not about how to be a good.
Having much experience, like if
right. How do you?
How do you gauge?
Right,
if
when
they
the
don't
person
have
doesn't,
any
exactly. So the answer is that is after I talk to them, after I first determine that I think it would be worthwhile to talk to this person, and like I said, I'm pretty open, I'll talk to almost anybody, it's gonna be the follow-up. And so I won't know for sure whether they're wasting my time until we get to the follow-up. And then hopefully they're gonna get back to me and they're gonna say, Tim, just like you did, and just like lots of people do. But I'm gonna judge you based on your follow-up.
Yeah.
And in the real world, as a VC or whatever, you're going to judge. In the business world, you judge people based on their follow-up, right? That's what we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
And follow-ups are so important too. And just from sales, it's just when you really follow up. That's how we got people like Koya to sponsor us, and just anyone. I think a big mistake is you think you put the effort in right at first to send out a bunch of stuff, then you don't follow up, and really the follow-up is the one where
you get
a high success rate.
Exactly. How many times did you have to go after Koya to get them to sort of really respond?
2 or 3 times.
2 or 3?
2 or 3,
yeah.
And same with this other drink company. Yeah, about the same.
Yeah. So what I always tell people is that, like, people often, what you were saying is people often think you reach out to somebody once, and if it doesn't work, you think it's a failure. No, you got to follow up. And you guys are busy students, and other people are busy running their lives and their businesses, and you get emails from people all the time, and you need to wait until the email has to hit that person when they happen to have that need or be open. They're receptive. They're open to the thing, And real quick story is I have this fellow who's a Ukrainian guy who I ended up bringing over here on an H-1B visa to do web design, template design stuff. This guy emailed me probably 30 times over the course of a few years because he knew I was doing all this template design, and I never really responded to him because I didn't need him. But one day I needed him, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go back to that guy who's been bugging me for 2 years, and his whole life changed because he came to America, all these things happened and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, he did a lot of outreach, and sooner or later it paid off. People are not always open to what you're pitching or talking about, but someday they might be.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about a bad email. What would be a good first email?
You mean for some kind of outreach or something?
Outreach.
Well, a good first email is not going to be too long, obviously, because again, people are busy. Your subject better be freaking on point. It better make me want to open that email because I don't know you. So you need the subject's line is going to be the most important part because otherwise I'm not going to open. And then you need to get right to the point about what you're talking about, and don't be dancing around. Don't give me a lot of stuff I don't need to know. Just tell me what you're after, and hopefully maybe there's a win-win in it for me. Mm-hmm. Hopefully there's a win-win because it's hard to get people who will give you a lot of energy when there's nothing coming back. Try to be succinct, and then be ready for a follow-up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, talking on the subject of Koya, I never thought we would have gotten a drink company sponsor us on our first event.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, I believe very young entrepreneurs have the same mindset, as in, I'm not going to send that email because it's going to be a failure. They're not going to get back to me. And I think that really is a roadblock for a lot of early entrepreneurs. And so how do you think a young entrepreneur can get past that fear of failure and just jump straight into the water, like you said?
So great question. There's definitely a lot of fear. Cold outreach, there's a lot of fear. It's to be honest, it's the thing that people hate the most, is doing cold outreach, right? But it gets easier when you do it. So just force yourself, like I said, get out of your comfort zone. And what I'm a fan of is taking something that's scary and that it's like, I really don't want to do it. Break it into little tiny pieces and tell yourself, on Monday, I am literally going to send 2 emails. I'm just going to hit send on 2 emails on Monday. And on Tuesday, I'm also going to do 2. And then I'm going to maybe if you're really easy on yourself, I'm going to do nothing else for the rest of the week and see what happens. And then the next week, I'm going to do 4, I'm going to do 5 or whatever. So just start doing it. And you don't have to do 20 or 100 emails or phone calls like in a day. Do 3 or 5 or something. Do something, because then you'll realize it's not actually scary. Yeah. And people will start getting back to you. If you send 10 outreach to 10 people almost for sure 1 or 2 of them are going to get back to you. They might not be interested, they might not buy, they might not engage, but they'll get back to you at least, you know? So that's not so bad.
Yeah.
You send 10 of something out, one person's going to talk to you probably.
And that builds confidence too. I
100%.
got a sales job in November for my first networking event, and I was so scared for cold outreach. I hated calling business owners and people just to try and pitch them our brand. And once I got one hooked and I went to the next stage, you just build that internal confidence.
How did it feel, right?
Yeah,
Made it a lot easier,
it
right?
makes cold outreach so much easier to move forward and get other clients leads.
Yeah, you get better. I always tell people, it's amazing actually if you can connect with somebody. I have so many stories of people who have reached out, like they want to sell like a product in a department store or something. And so they just started dialing for dollars, just started calling. And it's amazing that you often will get a person on the other end of the phone that will just absolutely just like educate you so much. And you just thought you were just going to try to maybe sell them some blankets that you're making or something. And meanwhile, you get into a conversation where they explain to you the whole way it works. They go, well, you don't really call me. What you do is you do this, you do that. Oh, really? Well, how would I do that? Well, you got to talk, you got to get a rep, you got to talk to, and next thing you know, 30 minutes went by, 20 minutes went by, and all of a sudden, you're a million times smarter than you were before you picked up that phone call. It's amazing the value you can get on the other end of a phone call. Emails are okay, and we were talking about this. I know young people don't like to make phone. I don't like to make phone calls, but texts and emails are just not going to get you as fast as far as an actual phone call will. So try to train yourself as young people not to be mortally afraid of a phone call, you know, because there's so much value there.
Yeah, I remember I was so scared to do my first cold calling, and a little tip: make life coaches your first target client, because I called a bunch of life coaches and probably about 3 of them ended up calling me back and saying, hey, just a tip, you know, when you do this, I mean, be a little more calm, say it this way, and that sort of thing.
That's
and
great.
It helps, it really does help a lot. So
that's great. Something else to think about, guys, is that all the things that we're talking about right here is if you train yourself to be able to do a lot of these things, you're going to be miles above most people around you that you walk through in the streets, because most people are just not willing to try, to learn, to put themselves into out of their comfort zone. And so your lives are going to be phenomenal compared to average people who are just not willing. You know, just keep perspective of how valuable it is to be willing to do these things and to train yourself to just jump over these hurdles and stuff. It gets easier and easier and easier. You're gonna like it when you're old, because like everything seems easy. When you're young, everything sounds hard. When you're my age, I'm like, nah, it doesn't really sound hard compared to what I thought when I was your age, that's for sure.
And even since you guys are here and out networking, I think that's such a great start. I mean, how was networking? How did that play a factor in your success?
Great question. Great question. So when I was young, I was working at some company, and a fellow named Andy Lentz was a programmer doing some web development something, and so we had to do a little bit of work together. But I networked with him and I kept up with him. One day, like 20 years later, he calls me one day and he goes, hey Tim, how's Big Stock going? I go, it's going good. Like, it's going good. We're making money and stuff, but like, I'm not really sure what to do with it at this point. Like, I don't know, I'm not great at, I don't know how I can grow past this, because I was out of my comfort zone. And I said, honestly, I'd like to sell it. Like, he had this company called Cheetah that he sold with his buddy. And I go, I'd sort of like to sell it, but I don't even know where I would begin. He goes, oh, well, just call Pat Finnerty, our guy Pat. He sold our company, just call Pat. Like, he'll do it for you. And I called this guy Pat. I learned that there are business brokers in the world. I did not know about this at all, who their sole job is to take a business that wants to be sold and to talk to their network. They spend their whole careers building a huge network. And so I called Pat, and after a couple of years, we sold the company. So networking is what got me to Andy Lentz, which is what got me to be retired early. So network, you guys all keep up with each other on LinkedIn or something, and just keep networking, because you just never know where that's going to take you.
Yeah.
You know,
a lot of there's a lot of talk online saying that if you get into entrepreneurship or you want to own a business, you're going to lose a lot of different aspects of your life, like socially, relationally. I don't know if that's a word, but you get the point. And so
Yes.
do you believe there's a big impact on outside of business from if you get into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, it is going to impact your life. If you want to succeed, you got to be willing to like do the hard work. I've with SCORE, I've dealt with some thousands, a couple of thousand people maybe, and then outside of SCORE, probably also another maybe 1,000. I don't know. I've never run into an entrepreneur who had success that was kind of taking it easy. Like you got to find more hours in the day, and you got to be willing to work weekends, nights, mornings. I learned that my brain is just firing firing AF in the morning, really early in the morning. I can do a whole day's worth of work in the first like 2.5 hours because that's just my time. So I lean into that, and I started getting up early, and that way I could end up doing 2 or 3 days worth of work in one day because But I zoned. You asked me about
I can just move on to, do you think there's a way to be an entrepreneur and still
the impact on your life,
those relationships still?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you definitely, you got to have friends, and you got to have some downtime, and you got to blow off steam, and hopefully you have girlfriends and boyfriends and all those kind of things. You can still have all that kind of stuff, but you're not going to have it as much as people who aren't an entrepreneur. That's for sure. Like it is going to be nearly all consuming. It's going to be very consuming, I think. So you should be ready for that. But there's a great payoff. There's a great payoff, and you'll be socializing with people that you're working with, and it's not like you don't have any kind of a social life or anything like that. But don't kid yourself. It's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah.
100%.
Would you say down the line it pays off for sure as you have like the financial freedom to?
Well, for sure are two big words. So we don't know for sure if it's going to pay off, right? But if you want to have a chance for it to pay off, then you got to step up to the plate and you got to do the work. So we don't know if there's going to be a payoff.
Yeah. Okay.
But I've never run into a person in my entire life that said, Tim, I sure wish I wasn't an entrepreneur because it took too big of a toll on my life, and I didn't have enough fun. I didn't have enough time for my girlfriend, or I didn't have enough time to do stuff with my buddies or whatever. I've never heard anybody say that. Okay. People say being an entrepreneur is exciting and energizing and explosive, and it is. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of payoffs.
And I think you can enjoy the process, even though it could be painfully, overloading.
True. And that's something I wanted to mention too. Entrepreneuring is a path. It's not really a destination, it's a path. And like I said, I failed and did middling things lots of times before I did something that was really worth it. And so the path was a good path. I feel like I learned something with every single thing that I did. So see it as a path, be a lifelong learner. And if someday you want to completely quit, then you can do that. But it's a path. And probably your first time out, you're probably going to fail. Second time, probably going to fail too. Whatever. Maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe you won't fail. But don't see that as a bad thing. See that as a learning experience. Better to fail doing a business than spend a year or two in school learning from books and from slideshows and things like that. Go out into the world and fail. That's the learning. That's the good learning. That's gonna rocket ship propel you so much faster than reading books and going to school and stuff. Go do it.
It's a good perspective right there.
Yeah.
And I guess for people nowadays, social media is just getting pushed down our throats, and we're all consuming that every single day. I mean, we're talking about how we see people that are 22 years old making millions of dollars. Then we start kind of comparing ourselves to them, well, we're just starting, we don't have this. And I don't know, maybe you guys can relate to it. I'm sure other people that are under 30 can relate to that also. Do you have any advice for this sort of thing?
Yeah, well, you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Don't compare yourself to everybody else. Those people that have made a lot of money when they're in their early 20s are unicorns. There's going to be a grain of sand here somewhere that's like a diamond or something. It's a unicorn. I mean, these things happen. They exist. But don't let that stop you, because all of the Zuckerbergs and Chad Hurleys and Steve Jobs, all of these people started without that much, with maybe next to nothing, and they went and they did something, and it turned out to be amazing. And for me, it turned out to be amazing. I've thought for my whole life, you guys, I've been wondering. I don't know. I guess I've always been obsessed with what is the recipe like for these successful people. What do the successful people out there in the world all have in common? And I think there's the answer that I've come to. The answer that I think exists is do something. Just do something. Just playing a video game by yourself at home or watching TV, that's not doing something. That's just you're just a consumer. You're not doing anything. That doesn't count. It's like making something, doing something. Whether it's make a garden, make a book, make software, make a business, make a song, make whatever you want to make. Make an escape room. Make whatever you want to make. But make stuff and share it. That's what all of these successful people that we have all like studied and looked up to, they have all made things and shared them. So if you're not making stuff and sharing it, probably you're not gonna go. It's probably not gonna happen for you.
So be a great creator.
Yeah, be a creator. Exactly. Yeah, and share it and get it out in the world. I think that's what people have in common.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure you guys have some questions. You can have an open discussion. But what's one hot take you have on business, or an unconventional view?
Okay, that's a good one, and I like bootstrapping. I have a lot of people that come to me and they say, Tim, how do I get funding? How do I get money for my business? And I say, well, but the first thing is, so you can talk about that. And for VCs, there's a way to get VC money. You have to have traction first. You got to have traction. But my hot take is, I like bootstrapping, meaning building a business with my own money, with next to no money, with a small amount of money, as opposed to going out and getting investors. Because that way I'm in charge, and also it forces me to make that flywheel I talked about earlier. It forces me to make a small business that makes a little money every single month. And if I go out and I get a loan, whether I do it from a bank or I get investors or whatever, maybe I got 50 grand or 100 grand or whatever in the bank, I can be very lazy about what I do every day. I don't have the fire in me to make it happen if I've got $100,000 worth of loan money or VC money or something in the bank. So I like bootstrapping. I'm not saying it's better, but I like bootstrapping. So I always encourage people not to take out loans. Lots of people say, Tim, I'm just going to get a loan. I'm going to start my business. I go, yeah, but most entrepreneurs, most businesses fail. How are you going to feel after 2 years, putting your lifeblood into this, and you still owe $50,000 to somebody? Because when you take out a loan, you owe the money back. You probably know that when you get investment money, you do not owe that money back. Typically, when you get money from investors, angel investors, VCs, anything, you do not owe that money back. So, and my little brother, I go like this, like he's here. My little brother, he goes, Tim, I'm not like you. I want to use other people's money. I don't want to use my own money. And that's a decision that you can make. And there's pros and cons to both. So I'm not saying bootstrapping is better, but it is a little bit of a hot take. Because not people are like, no, I'm going to go out and get VC money. And the best way to get VC money is to have some experience. They don't even care if you were successful. They care, but being unsuccessful is okay. They want somebody though who's been in the trenches and who's had a startup or two, or maybe even 3. And if you've been through that, you can almost for sure get money if you have a reasonable idea. But building traction is how you get. Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion. But that's my hot take: bootstrapping.
Nice.
Build a little flywheel. Do something that makes you $1,000 every month first.
Yeah. Nice.
All right, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask.
Anybody have any questions?
No, Manuel's got one. He's got to have something.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that your first business will most likely fail. So would you recommend starting off a business that isn't really your dream business first to get things going, or
Not too much. I think you should be pretty passionate about your business. I think you should be pretty passionate. So when you say your dream business, maybe you're thinking like you got your big thing, your big, magical kingdom in the sky. You're not going to get to that. Like for you, if you want to do experiential stuff and you want to have like a theme park event thing, whatever, that's a big ask, because you're going to need tens of millions of dollars bare minimum to even open the doors to something like that. You're not going to do that right out the gate. So you have to start somewhere. I would suggest to you, like we talked about, learn from other businesses, try to get hired, try to work with these businesses, and maybe do an escape room first. That's something that you could achieve with, a small amount of money, and then grow from there. Yeah, so maybe that's what you were thinking. But you should be passionate about whatever you're doing. I don't think you can be successful because there's a lot of work, and you're gonna be laying awake at night thinking about this. And if you're not passionate, you're not gonna be motivated. You're not gonna want to do it.
Kind of piggybacking off of what he said. Can you list like some couple businesses that you tried your hand at?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. I'm trying to go back to the very. It's funny if I go back to the very beginning. It's funny. I'll tell you though. When I was a kid, I was painting, I was for nursery schools. I was painting big animals all over the walls for nursery schools and stuff when I was like 13 years old. That was one of the early ones. I was one of those kids who mows lawns. But the businesses that you care about more, I had an early version of Shopify, which was called Client Ready. And I ran across a guy named Martin Toa out in Florida who was a software developer. And he had a way to like put an e-commerce site online very, very quickly. Like we could start selling product or whatever immediately. And I was like, this is unbelievable what you've got here. He goes, yeah, well, you could, if you want, you could like resell my thing that I've got. And I was like, yeah, I think I could resell this thing. And so it was a platform, like I said, very much like a Shopify. And so I sold his thing for a few years, and then I had hired guys by that time because we were growing. And then I was like, hey guys, let's like make our own. Let's like cut Martin loose and let's make our own, because we were running into some problems with him being in charge of stuff. And so we built our own platform. So we were just a little bit before Shopify, and yeah, I don't know, but so we did that. I had this thing called Cool Homepages, which was a massive repository of inspirational design ideas. Since I was a designer, I needed, like I said, we had to look for books to get, I needed like more design ideas to kind of jog my brain. So I just started posting all of the stuff and categorizing it, and that became really popular. And we were doing 4 or 5 million page views a month back in like 1998, 99, something like that. And from there, I was needing photographs because I was doing a lot of website design. So that's where the big stock photo thing came along. And back when I was doing all of that, you had to pay a minimum of about $50 for a photo of anything, like a person sitting at the beach or like a person's hand, anything. A photo of anything would cost you around $50 if you wanted to use it legally. And when you're doing work for a business, like a legitimate business, you have to have legal rights to something. Otherwise, that business can get sued and they'll come back. Tim, what did you use illegal photos on my website? Now we're getting sued. And the getting sued is real. Like our son used an illegal photo. He thought, oh, nobody will care if I use this thing. I'm not, and some guy came after him. He goes, hey, bro, that's my photo. And he had to pay him what, like $3,000 or something like that? Yeah.
Just a very small.
Yeah. But at any rate, so businesses. So Client Ready, I started a business called Web Pros Now, which was an early version of like Guru, or I forget what the other big. It's like what they do on Upwork. It's like an early version of Upwork, really. So in our little rub that was different is we weren't just listing people who did development. We had a matching algorithm that we were really proud of. So we would match you with somebody who would fit you really, really well. The way it works on Upwork, as you know, is you go, or Fiverr or something, is you just go sifting, and you just try to work it. You just try to find somebody. But so this leads me to a really important point I want to talk about. I didn't realize how important marketing was when I was doing all this. I'm a builder and a creator, but I'm not a great marketer. And I did not know. Somebody should have come and they should have said, Tim, even a halfway reasonable idea, you can build a big successful business off of that if you're great at marketing. So honestly, one of the best skills, if not maybe the best skill any of you guys could learn, is marketing. So don't let that slip out of your mind, because even the greatest piece of software or the greatest escape room or the greatest you name it, or doing events like this, whatever you're doing, if you can't market it, it's gonna die.
Yeah.
It's worthless.
I heard that.
So learn everything you can about marketing. Luckily, you have YouTube these days, and so there's so much good. And you've got Udemy, and you find mentors, whatever. But yeah, learn to market. It's like the Jedi skill is like being a marketer.
I suppose like if you knew what you know now about marketing, that would have made a difference.
Huge difference. She always used to say to me, Tim, you need your other half. And I'd be like, what do you mean? And she goes, you need a marketing version of yourself. You need a partner who's a marketer, because you're a great builder.
Women are marketers. Not to be sexist.
She was completely correct.
She was. Like women are really good marketers.
She was super correct. Guys, sorry, I want to look at my phone for 1 second, because there's a guy, on the way. There's another guy who's going to meet us here, and if he's trying to get to me and trying to find something else. So yeah, he's good. So marketing is the uber skill.
How do you go about finding partners? I hope nobody else, I'm not like bored in here. Like, anybody got questions you want to ask?
That's a good question, though. That's
Yeah,
really
it's a
good
great question. It's a really good question.
I'm big on that. Like, I've learned about, like, I study, like, entrepreneurs, like, from the past.
Yeah,
Like,
good.
from
Same here.
Henry Ford's to modern day Steve Jobs, big phenomenons, or Jeff Bezos,
Yep.
etc. So, like, yeah, there's a consistent theme with the marketing aspect. That makes the difference.
Yeah.
Like, Coke wouldn't be the gigantic business it is if not for their brilliant marketing. So how do you go about seeking a business partner in general, period, or a co-founder like these guys, Devil's Acts, or just a marketing version of you? How do you go about finding that person?
Great question. So it's like this. It's networking. Keep talking to people about what your ideas are, and keep looking for like-minded people. Look for people that want to be that are entrepreneurial. Go to networking events, meetups, and go on Reddit, and go on Substack, or go on Medium or someplace. You can find people that are like-minded out there, and sooner or later something will click. It's like how you find a girlfriend or a boyfriend. There's a lot of people, and sooner or later you kind of click with somebody, and you're like, hey, we should talk some more. So just keep networking. And I have a lot of people at SCORE that are trying to find co-founders. And the old thing that you probably heard people say is, it's a lot like a marriage. It's a serious thing. And everybody should know, if you have a co-founder, like a lot of people think, oh, I definitely want to have a co-founder, because then it'll be easier, it'll be more synergy, more all that kind of stuff. It's a great idea. But unfortunately, a lot of the time, at some point, you end up at odds with your co-founder. So you have a partnership agreement that you put together in the beginning that delineates what you're each going to do, and it might sort of describe the equity that you maybe you decide to split the company up, and you're going to get 40%, I'm going to get 40, and then we got 20 for other people that are going to come along later or whatever. But you need to have an agreement for how to undo your partnership, because sometimes it turns out that a really frequent thing is that somebody just loses interest, or maybe their kid gets sick and they just, I can't do this because now my whole life is going in a different direction because I have serious health problems in my family, or they get hurt or something, whatever, I don't know. But so it's just as important to have the document needs to describe really clearly how you undo a partnership as much as how you get into it. That's why. Yeah, sort of like that. Yeah, that's why I said it's sort of like a marriage. Yeah, so finding partners, like, just keep networking, talking. Yeah, and look for people that are symbiotic. If you're not good at marketing and you're good at building, find that marketer. Or if you're good at, you know what I mean? Find your symbiotic, your complementary person. Exactly.
So on the topic of finding the right co-founder or business partner, how important is it to find the right life partner, like husband or wife?
Oh my God, that is a great question.
That's key. That's fire.
That is such a good question. And yeah, it's amazing, because sitting right over here, and I'm not making this up, but I have so many friends, my family, friends, family who don't have a really truly supportive partner. But she was supportive and she said, Tim, I believe in you and let's go on this journey. Let's do this. I believe in you and I will hold down the fort and I will watch the kids and I will make sure that, you have enough time to grind and build the business. And I have so many friends, most people I know, they don't have that partner. So it's crazy important to find a life partner that will support you and sort of share your vision and be willing to roll up their sleeves and take the good with the bad and all that kind of thing. I feel so terrible for people I know whose spouses or partners are holding them back and putting added pressure on them. It's hard enough to build a business. It's like probably the hardest thing you'll ever do. And you don't really need to have a partner who's making you feel guilty about all the time you're putting into it or whatever. Yeah. So it's such a great question. And I wasn't even going to talk about that, but
it's
such a great question.
Yeah, it's like a marriage through and through, like literal marriage-wise and business management.
Yep, it is. Some of you guys have questions. Somebody's got a question. What's on your mind?
Well, what is your biggest challenge during like your entrepreneurial journey?
Like you mean the biggest challenge, like as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, like build.
I think it's finding market fit. That's the most important thing. If you can't find the people that are interested enough to ask you about what you're doing and to pay you for whatever it is that you're doing, if you can't find that, then it's never going to work. That's the hardest part. Anybody can do a logo or open a bank account or open an LLC or something like that. Anybody can find a partner, but finding market fit, that's the thing. Finding the people who want what you're selling. And sometimes it's just the way that you talk about what you're selling. Sometimes you've talked about it the wrong way. Here's the number one marketing lesson in a nutshell. It's that you need to explain to people what they can get out of it. They don't want to know about me. If I have a website, I don't want to talk about how I can help you do this. I know about this. Here's what I can offer you and all this. They don't want to know about that. They want to know how their lives will become transformed when they use my product or whatever. They want to know what's in it for them. So talk about transformative properties of whatever you're doing. Because if I tell you, I know a way that you could become a VC, I know a way that you can meet your dreams. All your dreams can be met if you just get my book or get my video or get whatever it is. You'd be like, oh really? Well, what do you got? Because that sounds freaking good to me. People want to be transformed. Whether it's a solution that makes them look good or a solution that makes them drink water, it doesn't matter. But figure out a way to communicate that transformative power. They want to know what's in it for them, because we're egotistical at the end of we're selfish at the end of the day. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well,
Anything else? Did I answer that? Yeah. The hardest thing is market fit. There's going to be lots of other challenges, of course. How to grow. Growing is a tough one. Like you were asking, how do I know when to hire people? That's a really hard one. It's tough. And I always tell people, don't hire until you have enough money coming in the door that you can afford to hire. Because if you don't have that much money coming in the door yet, then maybe you don't have market fit. You haven't found your kind of magic juju yet. You got work to do.
So do you say like before you making money, like you learn all the things you need? For example, like I'm a developer, but like marketing part and some like UI design part, I'm not that good at.
Yep.
So, but it's still important in the app.
It is.
So like, do you think I need to learn this by myself or like seek out?
Yeah. So sometimes, like if it's UI, I would go pay somebody to do UI, because on Fiverr you can have somebody set up some Figma files or something to do your UI. And if you're not great at it, it's good to know. It's good to know where your weak spots are. But so yeah, I would say hire out for the things that you're not great at. And if you're doing an app, your UI better look really good, and it better feel intuitive as hell, and so that nobody has to think, and it better let the person achieve the thing that they're trying to achieve within a couple of clicks, fast, you know what I mean? So yeah, I would hire out for things like that. And at some point though, you'll have some money coming in the door, and you'll think, you could hire out somebody to do customer service, whatever. But yeah, hire out first, and then at some point you jump into the water. Quick story on that is, she'll remember, we were really nervous about hiring. I was doing everything on my own with this client ready. Like I was building websites and people were selling products, all these things, and I was just doing it all by myself. And at some point, success catastrophe, and I needed some help. So we hired Jeff, and so we hired a guy. And we thought, wow, are we going to be able to support this? Are we going to be able to pay for this guy? Within about a month, we hired David. We hired another guy because things started. We were like, wow, now that I've got somebody I can offload to, now I can find more business and I can grow more and stuff. So it's funny. It just kind of took off like a rocket, and we were so nervous to hire like our very first person. So hopefully that answers that.
Yeah, really, like because I spend a lot of time learning all these things.
Yes.
Like sometimes I feel like if I can hire someone to do that work, I would be like way more easy.
Yeah. So yeah, you can. Luckily these days you can hire somebody to do a lot of stuff for pretty cheap. You know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Well, I've got something I want to tell you guys about. All right. I just had some notes here, and there was something that I want to talk about, which is what is the recipe for startup success. And I was trying to really distill, if there's only a few things, what are the things? And I think these are my things. Good people, like it can start with just you, but you're gonna need help. And if you guys read books like Atomic Habits or your Lean Startup or any of the books that are out there, all of the VCs will tell you hiring good people is gonna be like key. So good people, a great idea that you've validated. On the thing of ideas, I have a black idea notebook that I've been filling in, and also my phone is loaded with ideas. And it's funny. I don't know if you guys have on your phone. I write down all ideas when they occur to me. If I think it's good, and I think about it, I'm like, that's a pretty good idea. I'm going to write that one down. And I often have a heading. I go, best idea ever, like so I can like not lose track of the really good ones. And then there's like 10 or 12 or 15 of those. But anyway. A great idea that you've validated is really important. Having great communication skills. If you can't communicate very well, you're probably going to need a co-founder that can, because people need to believe in you. One day after we sold Big Stock, a year or so later, I was having lunch with one of the programmers, Daniel, and I said to him, you know, like we were so ragtag. We didn't have an office. We worked out of our homes, and we met at Pete's Coffee was our office, and we used to have meetings there constantly, and we used to joke and stuff and say we start getting our mail and our things here. But anyway, I said to the guy Daniel one day, I go, why did you? God, what made you guys like want to work with me and hang out? Like it was so ragtag and it was so crazy, like what we did. And he goes, you don't know? I go, no, I don't. I have literally no idea. He goes, it's just that we believed you. We just believed you. You communicated a vision. You knew where you were going, and we believed you. I was like, whoa, buddy! It almost knocked me back in my chair because I did not know that. But I learned that like being a good communicator and having a vision, and of course part of if you have a team, you must be trustworthy. You must follow up on the things that you say that you're going to do, right? Because otherwise people won't believe in you. So be that person that you be that champion that you want to believe in. Be that for your team, and you can get people to move mountains for you, But yeah, communication. And then the last one I put down here was experienced mentors who have been there and done that. Like I said, I wish I knew about that before. But I always tell people on my score calls, I say I like to try to get people from point A to point B in a pretty straight line. That is my goal on this business call that we're doing. Instead of doing this, most people do this, and I did this a lot. But mentors will help you get from 2 points in sort of a straight-ish line, and that is you can save years and years of your own learning by finding a mentor who can guide you. So and you should know that people who have had some success are normally very good about they want to give back, and so you'd be surprised that if you wanted to get good at, I don't know, whatever, pick a thing, you could cold call to some office where they do these things, and you could just tell them what you're looking for, and just say, look a person up on LinkedIn, on the internet, whatever, and contact them and say, I'm just looking for somebody who could be like a mentor sort of, and this is what I do, whatever. And some people will blow you off, but if you make 10 of those calls, you're probably going to get, before you make 5 calls, you're going to get somebody who would be willing to talk to you. People are, my brothers, they've done well, and we all say, yeah, we're so happy to help. Yeah, people will be very kind and very giving of their time if they think that you will, you do the right follow-up. You'll be motivated enough to not waste their time, because they see, like I see myself in all of you guys. And I'm like, I want to help you guys get from here to here, like in a straight line-ish. And I don't know if we're wrapping up, but tell me when the wrap up comes, because I want to do a little tiny bit of a motivational thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is this the wrap up?
Right now.
All right.
Yeah.
So I want you guys to know that the future's bright, and keep waking up every day and making good decisions. The way to fail is to quit. Like I said, maybe your first few businesses, maybe it won't go well. Don't quit. Keep stepping up to the plate and swinging. That keeps you in the game, and that gives you the chance for success. If you quit, there is no chance for you. I like the idea of wake up every day. You don't know how to be a good entrepreneur yet. You don't know. I don't know if I want to do things. I can make up. All I can do is make my best decision every day. So wake up in the morning and say, what can I do to move the needle today? And if you just keep doing that over and over and over again, good things happen. They just magically will happen. So I think the future is really bright for you guys. Keep being lifelong learners, keep pressing, keep meeting people, keep sharing. And like I say, make things and share them with people. Yeah, things are going to work out great for you guys. You're young and you're here at the beach willing to learn and willing to take your time and not just be at home playing video games and doing whatever. And by the way, I sound like I'm anti-video game. I'm not. I am not. But just know when you're being a consumer and you're sort of wasting your time, and obviously, boy, it's terrible, right? With our social media, like we scroll, we waste hours of our day just scrolling to get the meme dopamine. Don't fall into that trap. Do it put a timer on. Do it for a half an hour. Have a good time. But then go back to building things and sharing them with people.
This is the best dopamine right here.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well,
It
thank
is.
you.
Yeah.
Wow, that was
Yeah.
fantastic. Thank
Good.
you so
Sure.
much.
I hope it was helpful, guys. Yeah, sure.
Thank you for accompanying Tim, Don. That was Don, right?
Yep, Don. Yep.
Tim,
Yeah.
Don.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank
So,
you guys, though.
Yeah,
thank you all for
guys.
coming.
Yeah.
guys, I forgot to tell you. I think he's going to send. Is going to send an email. But I have a website that I do posts about all of the things I'm talking about. All of this stuff is all right there. And there's a good thing that you might enjoy. There's a pretty damn good business evaluator quiz. If you have a business idea and you want to find out whether it might be good or not, I've spent years and years and years and years trying to hone this thing. And I think it's pretty damn good. It'll give you like a chance of success probability at the end, and it'll give you feedback about all of the answers that you gave. So I think it's pretty darn good. And I'm not a big blowing my own horn kind of a guy, but for all the people that have used it at SCORE and all this stuff, I think it's pretty good. So anyway, that's there. This is all free stuff.
What's it called?
The website is startabusiness.center.
Got it.
Yeah, so that's startabusiness.center. That's my ongoing thing. And there's also something that is going to be in the email that you guys are going to get. I have this business dashboard. It's the latest thing that I have created that I'm sharing with people. And it's basically a glorified checklist. And it's organized like from the first things you got to do all the way down to the last thing, so you can sort of move in order. But if you're busy building your business, you take this checklist and you start moving through it, and it'll give you all kinds of thoughts and direction that you don't have. And inside of this thing, there's also a ChatGPT startup mentor that I made. Like I just made a custom GPT, which maybe some of you have done. It's unbelievably good at giving you your next, just tell it what you're doing. It's crazy good. Everybody who's tried it, they're blown away by how, and I'm not saying that I did a great job. I'm just saying GPT is good, and I guess I did a reasonable job of setting it up. But it's all in this business dashboard that will be available to you when you get the email, the follow-up email.
Paywall.
Yeah, and there's no paywall. No. Yeah, it's just free.
Is there
Yeah.
another link to it, or a website name, or?
No,
It's
it's
a
all just under
Started
Start a Business
got
Center.
it.
This the dashboard is the newest thing. Actually, you might be interested. The programmers will be interested. I'm a good enough programmer that I know some stuff, but I need help when it comes to back-end programming and JSON stuff and Ajax stuff. I need help. So, but I thought, let me try using GPT to do all the programming for me. And it managed to get me to where now I've got this functional application with user sign up and all kinds of different stuff. Yeah, so it's possible to like build things, using the AI these days, even if you're just kind of sort of a programmer.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that with Jimmy
Yeah.
and Brandon.
Yep.
Even me, I use a lot AI
Yeah.
code.
It's so helpful.
Like,
It's so helpful because yeah. It's not perfect though. Like I ran into a few problems it could not figure out for the longest time. For like a week, we were just banging. I say me and the GPT were banging our heads because you feel like you have like somebody working with you. Yeah. Well, guys, thanks a lot for coming out, and really great to meet all you guys. I wish you good luck. Feel free to hit me up if you have questions. Like, I'm a mentor. That's what I do. And again, it's all free. I'm not in it for it. There's no money. So yeah, so I'm happy to help anybody here who wants help or guidance or whatever.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so
Sure.
much.
Yeah, right on.